Have you ever wondered how our world got to be so unequal? For the last 600 years or so, one part of the world, the West, grew to completely dominate the planet. But why? How did that actually happen? Today, we're going to dig into the story of that dramatic shift in global power. Let's get into it.
Okay, first things first, we need to reset our mental clocks. I want you to just, for a second, forget the world map you have in your head right now. We're going back to the 15th century, a time when the very idea of Western dominance would have sounded absolutely ridiculous.
That's right. For most of recorded history, Europe was kind of on the sidelines. The real action, the centers of gravity for population, for wealth, for game-changing technology, all of that was firmly planted in the great civilizations of Asia and the Middle East.
I mean, the scale here is just mind-blowing. Think about Ming China. It had a population bigger than all of Europe combined, and it was run by this incredibly sophisticated bureaucracy that had been perfected over centuries. Then you've got the Ottoman Empire. This thing wasn't just some regional player. It was a global superpower stretched across 3 continents. To put in perspective, the Ottoman population was 50 million. England's was maybe 5 million. And crucially, it was Muslim merchants who held the keys to the kingdom of global trade, especially those insanely profitable spice routes.
And you can feel the awe, and let's be honest, the terror that Europeans felt at the time. To them, the Ottoman Empire seemed like this unstoppable force of nature. They literally described it as a consuming fire, which, grabbing and burning everything it came near, continued to spread. This wasn't some empire in decline. This was the world order. So if the East was so incredibly dominant, what on earth happened? Well, something shifted dramatically. We're now entering the period historians call the Great Divergence, that critical moment when the historical paths of the East and the West just split apart and changed the world forever. And nothing captures this split better than this tale of 2 fleets. On one hand, you have China's treasure fleet. I mean, this was the most magnificent naval force the world had ever seen. Its mission? Purely to project the emperor's power and prestige. But in the end, the government decided it was just too expensive, and China turned inward. On the other hand, you have Columbus's 3 tiny ships. Their mission wasn't prestige, it was profit, backed by hungry investors who wanted a return. One path led to isolation, the other to a global empire.
So yeah, that's the big mystery here, right? Why did Europe's tiny, scrappy, profit-seeking voyages end up completely reshaping the globe, while the epic expeditions of the East just faded away? The answer isn't really about the ships or even the technology. It's about something much, much deeper. And just look at how fast this all went down. It's almost unbelievable. The moment China taps the brakes, Europe hits the accelerator. In less than 100 years, a single lifetime, Europeans chart brand new oceans, they smash the old trade monopolies, and they start wiring the entire globe together in a way no one had ever even dreamed of. The momentum had completely and decisively shifted to the West.
Okay, so let's get to the why. Because the real reasons for this European explosion, they weren't happening out on the high seas. They were happening back home, baked into the very unique social and political DNA that had been developing on the continent for centuries.
So what was Europe's secret weapon? Well, some historians have a name for it: Western pluralism. You see, after the Roman Empire collapsed, no single authority could control the whole continent. So instead, you got this constant, messy, chaotic competition. Popes battling emperors, nobles fighting their own kings, and this new kid on the block, the merchant class, carving out its own power base in the cities. This fragmentation, this organized chaos, it turned out to be Europe's secret sauce. It created a relentlessly dynamic society where new, disruptive ideas couldn't be easily squashed by a central authority.
You know, the English philosopher Francis Bacon zeroed in on 3 inventions that he said changed the whole face and state of things throughout the world: printing, gunpowder, and the compass. And here is the absolute kicker. Europe didn't invent a single one of them. They all came from China.
So, same tech, totally different world. Why? Well, in the massive, unified, stable empire of China, these inventions were just sort of absorbed into the system without really shaking things up. But in fragmented, scrappy, competitive Europe, they were dynamite. The printing press didn't just print books, it fueled the Reformation. Gunpowder didn't just make a louder bang, it blew apart the old feudal system. and the compass didn't just point north, it guided entrepreneurs to build global empires for profit.
This table just lays it all out, doesn't it? It's all about the mindset. On one side, you have these huge Eastern empires. Their number one goal? Stability. Keep things orderly, maintain tradition. The key players are the emperor and his bureaucrats, who are often really suspicious of private merchants getting too powerful. And on the other side, you've got Europe. The goal? Profit and expansion. The key players aren't just kings anymore. It's this whole new class of entrepreneurs, merchants, and joint stock companies. For them, trade isn't just a part of the economy, it is the engine of everything.
And this unique Western dynamism didn't just stop with exploration. No, it kicked off a chain reaction, a powerful triple revolution that gave Europe what one historian called an irresistible momentum.
These three revolutions, scientific, industrial, and political, were not separate events. They fed into each other, each one amplifying the next, creating something the world had never, ever seen before.
It all started with a radical new way of thinking, the scientific revolution, with figures like Isaac Newton leading the charge, established a powerful new belief. The universe wasn't some unknowable, divine mystery. It was a machine. And if it's a machine, that means you can figure out the laws it runs on. It gave humanity this incredible confidence that we could understand and maybe even control the natural world.
That scientific mindset led directly to the Industrial Revolution, and the results were just explosive. What's 3.8 million? That's how many tons of iron Great Britain was pumping out by 1861. Less than a century before that, it was just 50,000 tons. I mean, think about that leap. The steam engine basically broke the sound barrier of human power, unleashing forces we're still grappling with today.
And finally, you have the political revolution. This was like the new software, the new operating system for this modern world. The American and French revolutions introduced these radical new ideas about individual liberty and the sanctity of private property. This gave entrepreneurs the freedom and the legal protection they needed to invest and innovate. At the same time, this new fiery idea of nationalism created intense competition between nations, driving them to industrialize, to expand, and to conquer. It was the perfect social framework for capitalism to go global.
So why does all of this deep history really matter to us right now? Well, because the shock waves from the Great Divergence aren't in the past. They are not history. We are all living inside of them today. Just look at these numbers. They're brutal. By 1991, the richest fifth of the world's population controlled 85% of its income. The poorest fifth, a mere 1.4%. This staggering gap is not some cosmic accident. It is a direct inheritance of the historical forces we've just walked through. And this quote from the historian L.S. Davrionis, man, it just nails the incredible and terrifying paradox of where we've ended up. Through this whole process, humanity gained this almost godlike power over the planet and over our own destiny. We became so powerful there are no rivals left. The only partner, the only foe we have left to face is ourselves. This is the profound legacy we're all wrestling with. It's a two-sided coin. The very same forces, that competition, that innovation, that relentless drive, that gave us science, technology, and all the comforts of modern life, are the exact same forces that created devastating global inequality and handed us the power to destroy ourselves completely.
And so, that's where this whole story leaves us. It leaves us with one giant, unavoidable question. The Great Divergence is the story of how one part of humanity gained unbelievable power. The story of our future will be about whether we can finally learn how to use it with wisdom. We've inherited the tools to shape the entire world, but have we found the ethical compass to guide them? That's the question this history leaves for all of us.